You read the title. I've been celibate for 3 years. That's over 1,000 days without a single failure. So, how did I achieve that? How did I destroy my lust? There are tons of videos on the internet talking about how to defeat lust, how to overcome lust, how to distract yourself from lust. But all of them lack a lot of the information that I'm going to share with you. And the information I'm about to share with you is much simpler than what you see on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram the majority of the time. I'm going to start with the first thing. Stop watching reels and TikToks about conquering your lust because you're just adding fuel to the problem. You're shortening your attention span and you're eventually going to bore and burn yourself out to death so that when you have to actually replace your lust with something, you're just going to resort to scrolling, you're going to see something you don't want to see, and then you're going to feel tempted again. So you're becoming your own worst enemy by trying to always look into things about defeating your lust. So delete TikTok, delete Instagram because you're just adding temptation to it. But now we're going to actually get into the core of the video. So we need to understand two things before we dive into the entire topic. I also have everything bullet pointed here, so you can take a screenshot and just click off the video if that's just going to help. But I am going to share with you some information that has really, really helped me. First, I'm going to tell a little bit about my story, then we're going to go over the two things you have to know. So I became a Christian when I was 19. For a little more personal information, I'm now 22. So when I was 19, I decided to commit myself to celibacy, and I succeeded without failing once. But this isn't the first time that I've tried to commit myself to celibacy. When I was 16 years old, I had an addiction to you know what, and I would see it every single day. But I decided to break that habit, and it was extremely challenging, and I would go 2 to 3 days at a time doing nothing, and then I would cave on the fourth day, or I'd go a week and then cave, and I couldn't figure out what the secret formula to success was. Now, being 22 now, I was 16 when the 2020 pandemic hit. So when COVID hit and I was locked inside, I realized I could either choose one of two options. One, I could go back to school, a complete addict and a loser, or two, I could get myself under control and show up to school a completely different person. Now, this way of thinking is what saved me. So now we're going to talk about the two things that you need to understand before you destroy your lust. The first thing is that no matter what, the ultimate goal is to not fail, which means that you can go to any means necessary to not cave into your lust. The second thing is, if you do fail, just try again. See, failing isn't a reason to quit. Failing is simply a sign to get back on the horse and try again. So don't give up or use excuses if you fail. Just try again. But remember the first rule. The objective is to not fail at all costs. Also understand that conquering lust is one of the hardest things that you can ever do in this life. We're counteracting a God-given urge to reproduce, but because the world has perverted that urge into something that gives us pleasure, something that objectifies other people, now it's an evil thing that you need to resist. However, it is our deepest, most primal urge. So that means it is wired into us so deeply, into the fabric of life, that you need to be extremely disciplined in order to actually conquer it fully. Now, I'm not trying to play myself up at all. All I'm doing is giving my experience and my advice for conquering this problem. I have family that watches this channel, I have friends that watch this channel, and I know that this topic is extremely taboo. So to any family, any friends that's watching this, I'm sorry, but I had to do it because I've been told too much that I need to share all my methodology. So here you go. Destroying your lust is going to be a chapter in your life. Actually, it was the chapter in my life that defined who I was going to be. Choosing to be celibate and quit watching you know what at 16 years old was the best choice that I ever made, and it shaped me for the rest of my life up until this point and will continue to shape me. I still reap the benefits of that to this day. But destroying your lust is going to be a whole chapter in your life. Okay, you need to dedicate yourself completely and totally to destroying your lust. This is not a side quest. I want to make that very clear. Conquering your lust is not a side quest. It's serious business. It's very important. You need to dedicate all of yourself to this. Because if you can do that, your entire life is going to flip upside down and change. I promise and guarantee you. Now, I'm a Christian, but this applies to everyone, even if you're male, female, Christian, atheist. Don't care. Now, the first thing I can tell you is we need to understand why we're destroying our lust. Why is it so important that we conquer this region of our humanity? Well, it's because it wrecks your life. an addiction to watching you know what, an addiction to doing you know what, and an addiction to constantly being fed pleasure and dopamine instead of working hard is going to ruin your life. That's as simple as I can put it. Also, if you want to reach your God given potential, if you want to hit the peak that you've been dreaming about for years, caving into your lust is the number one way that you can ruin this potential. I'm going to list off some things that happen when you continuously cave into your lust and you become an addict. You lose motivation, you have brain fog, you're routinely tired throughout the day, you have trouble getting up, you lack discipline, you're a slave to your own desire, you have less of a sex drive, you have a warped perception of the opposite gender. And this is just the surface. These issues run deep. And now I'm going to scare you a little bit. What if you're doing this 10 years from now? If you don't stop right now and get a grip on yourself, where are you going to be in 10 years still performing this exact same habit? And imagine with 10 years to reinforce it, how difficult it's going to be then. So I say to you now, this is the easiest it's ever going to be to break this habit. Now, the next question is, what should you do instead of it? Now, you're still going to feel it all the time, but we're going to get to how to deal with it in the moment. But for now, we need to talk about the philosophy of your life moving forward as you open this chapter of conquering your lust. So we need to replace it. Now, to start off, it doesn't matter with what. For example, when I was conquering mine at 16 years of age, what I would do is I would get up, I would work out, I'd go for a run, play soccer at the field, come back, and then play Call of Duty for 8 hours. See, it doesn't matter what you do, it just matters that you are not giving into your lust. That's literally it. So consider that the bare minimum solution to the problem. As long as you're not lusting, you're not ruining your life. I'd much rather be addicted to modern warfare than P0RN. You also need to replace it with far better productive things, like exercise, being creative, building strong relationships with friends. See, these are the types of things that can really help you in your journey. But I say again, it doesn't matter what you replace it with, as long as it's not drugs, alcohol, or sex with an actual person. This isn't just about P0RN or the behavior of doing it by yourself. This is to conquer all of it, which means all forms of premarital sex are off the table. If you're getting a grip on yourself and disciplining your brain to conquer this primal drive that's been perverted by the world, we need to get rid of all forms of it except for the form that God intended it to be, which is in a marriage between a man and a woman. Now, before we talk about fleeing from it in the moment when you actually get it and how to deal with it, how to resist it, and how I did that, we first need to talk about the fact that you need to have goals when you're dealing with conquering your lust. You really need to think about this in your life. What do you want out of your life? You can list a ton of things. Now, you need to understand that if you don't get a grip on yourself, you're not going to get it. This is the truth of the matter. This is the core of discipline. This is the core of getting your prayer life in order. This is the core of getting yourself right in the Christian walk. This is the number one sin that Christians struggle with in the closet and nobody knows. It's so taboo to talk about this. See, even bringing this up right now on this channel, I'm afraid that family is going to say, why are you talking about this? Friends are going to say, dude, like, what are you doing going online and talking about this sort of thing? Because it's perceived as like disgusting or weird. But in reality, this is ruining so many people's lives. What do you want? Now, when I was first conquering this, when I was first getting my life in order and walking with God, my goal was to be as clean and as honest with my faith as possible. But also there were a few other motivating factors. For example, I wanted a girlfriend slash a wife, so I knew that if I was indulging these behaviors, I would have way less chance of securing that. And I also had a crush on somebody at the time, so I used them as motivation to quit. I also wanted my music slash Christian music to blow up, and it still hasn't yet, but that is a huge motivation to stay consistent. I also wanted to get better gains in the gym, and I wanted to be a better, more cognitively functional athlete. And SR, or retention, is a great way to give yourself the edge in a competitive situation. It also boosts testosterone. Now, you're going to hear that, oh, it's not true. Oh, it doesn't actually do that. It does that. You're just going to see articles that want to convince you that there's no issue with this. So it's like, oh, well, I guess I can. Don't listen. This is a 150% testosterone increase. Obviously, my walk with God was number one, but at the time when I was first quitting, I wasn't actually a Christian. So that's why I didn't mention that first. But when I was 19, getting back on the horse after 2 relationships where I made mistakes, then I'm like, okay, I'm an honest Christian. I need to follow God in this walk. So using the discipline that I had found before by doing all the things I just told you, I was able to apply it again and it worked. And this was after falling into sin. So you need to write down a list of goals that you want, and you need to understand that if you do not conquer your lust, you are not getting those goals. Now, I haven't given you any actionable steps to actually do when you start feeling it, when you start feeling temptation, and when you're really in the heat of the moment and everything's just coming at you at once. But don't worry. What we have here, understanding why it wrecks your life and ruins your potential, why we have to replace it, and why you have to have goals. It's all part of a mindset and a list that you have to think of, because when you're in the moment, not only are there actionable steps that you can take, like physically, there's also things that you have to remember why you're in this chapter, why you're on this journey. And remember, you have to give everything to beating this. So why does this say flee from it instead of how to fight it or how to resist it? Well, 2 Timothy 2:22 says, flee from youthful lusts. And the common interpretation of that is, lust is not fightable. It's not a winnable battle to face it up head on, because the more you fight it, sitting still in the moment, just trying to sit there and resist it, the stronger and bigger that lust gets. And therefore, it's impossible to fight it. So the big question is, what actionable steps can you take in addition to knowing all these points that can help you conquer it? Well, the first thing is to physically leave your location. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter. As soon as you feel tempted, leave. As soon as you have a trigger, put it down. For example, if you're in your room alone in front of your computer or in front of your phone and you get triggered or you have that temptation, take your phone, put it face down, leave the room and go outside. That's the first action you can take, and it's not hard at all. The second thing is to make yourself physically uncomfortable. For example, that could be getting really cold outside. If it's wintertime, take your shirt off and go outside. Or if it's summertime, take a cold shower. Or do an exercise that you really hate, like a ton of push-ups, until just push yourself until you can't go anymore. Or run super far until you're completely gassed. Whatever it is, you have to make yourself very uncomfortable so that your mind can only focus on that and not your temptation. And the third thing I would say is pray. If you're a Christian, pray to the Lord to take your lust away. Now, these three actionable steps are very good. And the first two, if you're not a Christian or secular or whatever you are, the first two are essential. I'll give an example again. You're sitting in your room, you're on your phone, you scroll and you see a trigger. Now you have two choices. You can either sit there and go down the rabbit hole, look at this person's profile, then keep scrolling and then keep finding other things. Or you could just put your phone face down and leave the room. That's honestly easier than sitting there and trying to just find and keep scrolling and keep stimulating yourself, because dopamine is multiplicative, which means that once you see one thing that triggers you, your dopamine is going to multiply, and the more that you look, the more dopamine you get. So it's actually the easiest to quit right when you get triggered and not when you're down the line. It's not going to be like stacked up, okay, nope, too much, I'm done. It's going to be the opposite. So at the beginning, you just say, nope, I'm done. Now, how do these things work in combination with each other? Well, what I'm trying to stress to you is that you need first to understand why lust wrecks your life and ruins your potential. There's tons of reasons. I can name 5 off the top of my head right now. Less sex drive, less confidence, brain fog, less motivation, and it warps your view of the other sex. And actually, being celibate for 2 weeks boosts your testosterone count by 150%. Now, no website or any research is going to tell you this unless you really dig, because I think mainstream research, like the stuff that's going to pop up first, is working in tandem with other industries like the P0RN industry. And what they're doing is they're telling you that doing certain things to yourself is okay and healthy behavior, when in reality it is slowly killing you and ruining your potential and wrecking your life. So don't look up, oh, is this bad for me? You know it's bad for you because the guilt you feel after every single time. So don't let them fool you. 150% increase to testosterone. That means faster gains, more confidence, more motivation, more clarity. It all plays into this. Understand why it's bad first and have the list. Then understand what to replace it with. Maybe an activity that you like. Talk to a person that you like. Admit it to a friend so that you can hold each other accountable. Whatever you're replacing with it, even if it's your favorite video game or your favorite candy, do something else. The next thing, have goals. What are your goals? Understand what your goals are, and then you can tell yourself, well, if I cave here, I'm not going to reach those goals. That's going to scare you out of it. And then once you have all these mental lists, all these mental blockades to your lust, the last thing is to then flee from it physically and actionably. If you have these 4 weapons stacked against it, you're not going to fall. But remember, if you do fall, get back on the horse. Now, I will tell you, when I talk to friends and people who struggle with this issue, the number one thing I hear is, I don't know, it was overwhelming. I couldn't put my phone down. I couldn't resist, blah, blah. The one thing that's missing is that they're not even trying to fight it physically. And they also don't have these reasons. What I'm saying is you need to actually take actionable steps. And the best part is that if you fail, there's probably something here that you didn't do. Most of the time, it's going to be putting your phone down and leaving the room. So if you fail because you didn't do that, next time, just do it. Take it one day at a time. If you go 2 days and fail, don't beat yourself up. Go one day, and if you feel tempted, put your phone down this time and just practice that over and over again. Go over your list again. I'll give a little anecdote. I was 16, so I was young and pretty stupid, and I was sitting in the basement. I'm at my 100-day streak in the middle of COVID. I'm working on a song. Then I go on Instagram for no reason, and I see something that triggers me. Now I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is the worst the trigger has ever been. This is the worst it's been right here. This is the make or break moment in my journey. 100 days. This could be catastrophic failure if I mess this up. I'm sitting in my basement alone. No one's there. I'm sitting alone with my thoughts, with the temptation right on the screen. What did I do? Turn my phone off, put it face down, went outside and took a walk. Extremely simple, but it saved me a catastrophic failure. And I was 16. I was young and stupid. So you can do that too. Now, I've been going for over 1,000 days. I started when I was 19. I'm now 22. And this list has helped me that entire time. It doesn't get more complicated than this. So what happens on your journey is the first month is hard. The first 2 months can be hard. Once you hit 3 months, you start to just think about it way less. But obviously, I had a huge episode at about 100 days. So temptation will still hit. At 1,000+ days, I still feel tempted. I do. But this never fails me. And I will let you in on a little trade secret that not a lot of people say, because flee from lust is 1,000% biblically accurate, and it's 1,000% accurate when you actually practice and apply it. You need to run away. But I will tell you that eventually lusting will become such a not habit, and it'll become so taboo in your brain to even think about the other sex or to objectify someone or to feel tempted towards going on the internet and doing things you shouldn't be doing, that you can just get the temptation, sit there, say, nah, I'm not going to do that. That's not me anymore. And it will go away. That's just how it is now. It's just a fleeting thing. I have friends that think that you cannot live without sex. Oh, no, I don't want it. I just can't picture my life without some form of release in this way. It's possible. I couldn't see it either. I wanted it every single day. And now I've gone 1,000 without it. As a 22-year-old male, where the hormones are at their peak, you want to talk about teenagers and how they desire things? Try right now. Early 20s, everyone is together. Everyone's dating. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only single one out of all my friends. But you know what? This still helps. And this honors God. If you do this, God sees. God sees that you're working for him. This is essential. This disciplines you to be ready for when your wife or husband shows up. You condition yourself over time, over resisting the habits, that this is horrible for you. Not just bad for you, horrible for you. I operate under the mindset that any of this behavior, lustful behavior, it is absolutely the worst thing in the entire world, and I can never, ever do it at all costs. That's how you have to think. But the bright side is that God loves you and he'll forgive you. And even if you fail, just try again. Stop making excuses. Stop saying it's too hard. Stop saying that research and websites say that it's healthy. Stop saying that, oh, I can't find a verse in the Bible that specifically condemns this behavior. It's bad. Be celibate until you're married. That's what we're called to do. And unfortunately, it's not talked about enough. I'm going to have family members that bring it up. Why are you making this video? Friends is saying, really? Why are you going on the internet talking about this? That's embarrassing. That's gross. Like, what if people see it? I don't care anymore. This is the most passionate issue I've had with the Christian walk, and I'm so passionate to help guys get over this. Every successful man on the planet has destroyed their lust. I'm not even playing myself up or saying I'm super successful. All I'm saying is that start here and the success will come. God will see it. And if you're not a Christian, still, you're going to reap the benefits of this hugely. If you have any comments, any questions, any concerns, put them below. I can make a full video just answering one comment just because of how experienced I am with this. So please treat me as an open book. I have knowledge, I have wisdom, experience, whatever it is with this. God gave me this. So please allow me to use it for you guys. So just to recap everything, because this went really long, the first rule is that you cannot fail at all costs. This is the number one goal of your existence, of your journey right now, is to destroy and conquer your lust. The second thing is, if you fail, get back on the horse until this goal is done. Don't worry about failure, because there's definitely more actionable steps and more things you can remember that you didn't remember the time that you failed. So be better the next time and remember why you failed. Now, we need to understand why lust wrecks your life and ruins your potential. Replace it with things that you like that aren't drugs, sex, and alcohol. Have goals. Remember what you want to achieve and be afraid that you're not going to achieve them unless you conquer your lust. And then take the actionable steps to flee from it. And comment any questions or concerns. Follow the call to Christ. God bless you.